It's recording. Good evening, I'm Helen and I've chosen the topic, the transition to school, for my presentation. I'm a prep teacher in a Queensland state school, and transitioning children into prep for 2020 is an area which my school is seeking to develop this year. This PowerPoint will hopefully encourage early childhood educators, particularly prep teachers, to become more informed about how they can be involved in an effective transition process for children and families. Commencing formal schooling is a challenging and exciting milestone for children and their families. Children will experience a new environment. They may be overwhelmed by the size of the school buildings. They may be anxious about using the big toilets, excited about playing in a different playground, nervous about meeting their new teacher. Families may also be apprehensive about how their child is going to cope with big school. There are many factors to consider when thinking about the transition to school. Some of the impacts and implications for children, families, and early childhood educators will be discussed in this presentation. Early childhood educators, both in pre-primary settings and those in the school setting, have the power to positively influence a child's start to formal schooling. I will be focusing on three important areas that educators should consider when planning for and implementing transitions. These include building relationships, remembering the importance of consistency of learning experiences and the role of play, and being mindful that the environment they create impacts the transition process. Why should educators, especially prep teachers, invest time and effort into setting up a transition program at their school? Sue Dockett and Bob Perry were invited by the Australian Department of Education to prepare a teacher's resource on effective transitioning. In the resource, it is stated that a positive start to school is instrumental in promoting positive life trajectories. It influences a child's learning and development not only during the transition, but into the future. Now that sounds important. Smooth transitions lead to positive outcomes. Does that mean that the opposite is also true? That poor transitions have negative impacts to a child's learning and development now and in the future? Something for all of us to consider. It can be concluded that the transition to school is very important and that it is vital that every childhood educators, families and community members work together to ensure the best start to every child's school experience. Early childhood education documents identify the importance of successful transitions. The C&K Building Waterfalls curriculum provides parents with information they can use to assist their child's transition into school. Preschool educators also prepare a transition statement for each child, a snapshot of a child's learning across their kindergarten year. Parents are encouraged to share this information with the school. The Australian Curriculum website provides parents with information about the curriculum and learning experiences expected during the first year of school. A teacher's resource published by the Australian Government Department of Education provides teachers with information and ideas that promote effective transitioning. The Queensland Curriculum Authority website also has information on successful transitions. Although this information is available, I must confess, I as a prep teacher was not aware of the information developed specifically for teachers in the first year of school. So how can prep teachers positively influence the transition for each child into the school environment? Relationships are at the core of all positive transitions to school and are central to a child's education. Children learn best when they have formed trusting and secure relationships, and this includes relationships with teachers. The relationships formed actually influence a child's social and emotional well-being. Therefore, it is vital that school educators begin to build relationships with children prior to the first day of school. How? Perhaps organising regular opportunities for children, parents and early childhood educators to visit the school, and in particular the prep classrooms and playgrounds. That seems a great place to start. Additionally, prep teachers can visit the children in their kindergarten or early childhood centre. This is something that my school principal is encouraging this year. He is budgeting for relief teachers to take our prep classes so that we can visit the staff and children at our local kindergarten and daycare centre throughout the year. Fortunately, his background is in early childhood and he understands the importance of establishing relationships with the children prior to their first day of school. These two-way visits help prep teachers get to know the children, their interests, abilities and strengths. This is significant because research has revealed that children learn best when they pursue their interests. And what better way for a child to start their first day of school participating in learning experiences based on their interests? The renowned child psychologist Lev Vygotsky explained the importance of scaffolding to advance a child's learning. Knowing the children's abilities and needs allows the prep teacher to scaffold activities from the first day of school to ensure that every child is being challenged and extended. It is also important for teachers to recognise and accept the diversity of the upcoming children. Examine your own attitudes, beliefs and prejudices towards others and demonstrate acceptance of all. This acceptance is the foundation to caring and strong relationships that children need for a smooth transition to school. Children who know they have a friend or friends starting school with them will have a more positive expectation of school. Friends make a difference. During the student free days at the beginning of this year, the new class of prep children were invited to bring their school materials to the classroom. One little girl refused to come inside with her dad. She even ran back to their car. But 10 minutes later, she came waltzing into the classroom with her friend from kindy, from the same prep classroom. Placing friends in the same prep classroom positively impacts transitions. It is also essential that educators build relationships with families of the children starting school. Children thrive in an environment of mutually supportive and caring relationships, and strong partnerships between educators and families positively enriches a child's learning, identity, and sense of belonging. How can prep teachers begin to develop relationships with families? By talking and interacting with them during school and classroom visits, inviting parents to school picnics or fetes, communicating by email, phone calls or letters. Once again, teachers need to evaluate their attitudes and prejudices, avoid stereotyping and suspend judgment. Every family is different. Every family is unique. Accept diversity and provide for cultural differences. Respect each family. Become an active listener and seek to support families. Research has highlighted the importance of viewing each child not as an individual, but in the context of their family and society. Developing relationships with families is important in creating successful transitions. Building relationships within the community also impacts the transition process. Learning has been identified as a collaborative process. Remember the saying, it takes a village to raise a child? Every community is unique, and educators who respect the knowledge of and the connections within the community can positively influence the transition to school. First of all, educators can make an effort to become part of the community by interacting with others. Educators can take the opportunity to share information about the school with the community, and members of the community can also share information as they are welcomed into the school. Educators are also able to work with support staff and community health professionals, such as occupational, speech and language therapists and social workers, to help meet the needs of individual children who may require additional support during the transition process and into the future. Such relationships within the community will help families and children transition into the school environment. The benefits of building relationships between early childhood educators, those in pre-prep settings and those in the school setting, is enormous, and strong partnerships positively influence the transition process. Research in early childhood education has identified a gap between the two settings. The lack of continuity in pedagogical practice widens this gap. Schools are mandated to follow a set curriculum. Children are coming from a play-based learning environment to a more structured learning environment. However, building relationships with other educators can make a difference. The sharing of information of age-appropriate pedagogy can help teachers in the school system. Building bridges is a term used to highlight the strong partnerships that occur between educators from both settings. One example of effective bridge building has been the formation of BINE, the Brisbane Inner North Early Years Network. The following video demonstrates how educators are building bridges as they develop relationships and share ideas, which will help the transition process for children in their community. The National Early Childhood Curriculum Framework emphasises the importance of continuity of experiences as a pathway to a smooth transition. Children have spent their life learning through play, playing at home, in the family daycare environment, at a kindergarten or daycare centre. Research has found that children learn best when offered a play-based curriculum. Even the United Nations Convention of the Rights of the Child states that children have the right to play and be active participants in all matters affecting their lives. This has caused a dilemma for many early childhood teachers working in a school. The Australian school curriculum has been described as a one-size-fits-all program. Essentially, the children are all receiving the same form of education. This demonstrates that the child is viewed as a passive receiver of information. Teachers in the first year of school may not even be aware of the importance of play-based learning. Some are not even early childhood trained, and if they are, find it difficult to implement due to curriculum requirements, assessment tasks, lack of time, lack of support from other teachers and principals, and misunderstandings from parents. This discontinuity of learning experiences, the children entering school experience, can make the transition process very challenging. Therefore, it is important that all involved understand that the continuity of learning experiences positively impacts a child in a school's transition. Despite the difficulties that prep teachers face when implementing a national curriculum, they can still make a difference to each child's transition by encouraging inquiry-based learning wherever possible throughout the curriculum. Incorporate play-based learning and age-appropriate pedagogies into daily routine. Scaffold activities for individuals and groups of students to ensure that each child develops and progresses with their learning. Plan to cater for different learning styles and be mindful of the multiple intelligences to empower learning developed by Gardner. Incorporate children's interests into the curriculum. Be an advocate for play-based learning. Share current research with other teachers, principals, and parents. Attend and encourage others to attend professional development in the area of early childhood. By undertaking some of these things, teachers are attempting to provide continuity of experiences for the new prep children, and this will help to develop smooth transitions. The environment, also known as the third teacher, also impacts on the transition process. The physical environment conveys to children and families entering the classroom how the teacher views each child and the type of learning experiences that will take place in the classroom. The environment communicates whether the teacher sees the child as a competent and active learner who is involved in their own learning or a passive receiver of information. The arrangement of the room conveys the types of learning that will take place. Open-ended materials that can be easily accessed by the children indicates that the child is seen as creative and an active learner. Rows of desks demonstrate that the teacher values individual learning experiences. Groups of desks encourage children to work collaboratively and learn from each other. Displays of children's work, which could be collected prior to the first day of school, demonstrates that each child is accepted and valued. Teachers should reflect on the messages that their classroom conveys to children and families as they enter this new environment, because the physical environment impacts on the transition process. It is also important to remember that teachers who create a warm and caring atmosphere, an environment that is felt rather than seen, will also help children and families feel less anxious and more at ease as they transition into the school year. A smooth transition to school is something that everyone wants: the child, the parent, early childhood educators. In conclusion, I would like to highlight things that teachers, particularly teachers in the first year of school, should remember as they partake in the transition process. Remembering that transitions have lasting effects to a child's learning and development. That there is information available for educators and it is important to find it, read it, share it, implement it. Relationships with the child, families and other educators and within the community affect the transition process. The continuity of practice and the role of play has a positive impact. Teachers can be proactive and an advocate for effective transitions, and to remember that the environment they create can also influence a child's successful transition to school. Thank you for listening. I hope you are able to use some of this information as you think about and plan for future transitions. Thank you.
Helen, I have a question.
Yes.
So do you believe then schoolification in early childhood would help that transition for kids?
Well, I think the pre-prep children who come from a play-based environment, I think that should continue into the school rather than the more formal academic going down into the kindy. So I think it should be the other way around, that there should be more play-based and inquiry learning in the early years of school. I know that you know, it has been pushed down to kindies, and I think teachers in kindies feel pressure to introduce more academic subjects. But I think we all need to advocate by, you know, sharing this information with parents and with teachers.
Yep, I agree wholeheartedly that it's play-based learning should be more into the upper, like school prep, etc., rather than pushing the academics down lower.
Yeah, I think that would definitely help with transition.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, I completely agree with you, Donna. Helen, how do you see the supportive parents in terms of, play-based learning and advocacy for the transition? Do you think there is the support from parents out there to, I don't know, soften it a bit, or do you think some parents just want their kids to get into school
Well,
so that they don't have to pay childcare fees?
yeah. Well, I know I have both sides. Some parents really want academic and academic subjects.
Yeah.
Can they read? Do they know their numbers? And even one parent this week, she said to me, when are you changing those puzzles? I don't want my daughter to get bored.
Oh,
And then
no.
I was thinking, oh, well, we've got the resources in the room and we were always doing open-ended activities. The puzzles were just there, for in the morning to do with parents. And then I have other parents who say they're so glad that they have the opportunity to still do painting and dress-ups and they're not worried about whether their child knows their sounds just yet. So, yeah, I have a combination of...
It's really, I think it behoves us as educators to educate the parents.
Yeah.
Because I just don't think they understand. I don't think they know enough about it. So do you get the opportunity in your classroom, Helen, to have like a parent partnership meetings where you can actually talk to them about pedagogy and how your classroom is set up and explain it to them, the importance of play-based learning?
Yeah, at the beginning of every year, all the staff at our school, we hold an information afternoon or night and invite the parents. And then this year I had a really good turnout, so I was able to explain about the play-based learning that's going on in the prep room and explaining that they're actually learning. The children are actually learning. So, I think that has helped. But I know that there are prep teachers who are not early childhood trained, and I think their information session would be different to my information session.
Yeah, it sounds great that your school's got an early childhood principal.
Yes, he used to be a prep teacher.
Yeah. Because there's so many schools where the principal doesn't value it, doesn't understand it, and I know of an instance where a teacher who was really working on a play-based program was moved up to grade 2 and a grade 5 teacher was put down to prep.
Terrible.
Yep, terrible, just terrible. And I think that happens quite often actually, depending on the administration and what they're looking at. Yeah, it is. It's really sad. Helen, look, that was great. I think you covered heaps. It was really in-depth for transition. If only everybody would do it.
Well, I must admit, we're only really getting into it this year. That's why I chose this topic. So because beforehand we hadn't really done much except maybe just a few visits at the end of the year. So I'm really looking forward to going to the kindies and the daycare centres. We haven't done...
I think that's a wonderful idea because the more you see what they're doing, and then do they come up to prep at all? Those teachers, can they come up to the school?
They've already started. They come up once a fortnight to help with reading groups in the mornings. So they've already started coming up.
So that's what we're trying to do at Kindy is take the kids to the schools frequently so they become comfortable and familiar with it all, so that the transition, I mean, we're not obviously getting around to all the different schools and it might be a little bit different where you are, Helen, but we've got probably 5 or 6 schools within 10 minutes of our kindy. But just being able to get them familiar with a bigger environment and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, as a kindy, we try to do that. But the philosophy through our kindy is like you said before, is about getting the school ready for the kindy kids, so that they do transition into that play-based environment that they're so used to, rather than hitting it and going, oh my God, I've got no idea what to do. I can't sit still. I've never had to sit down and do 5 or 10 minutes of writing. It's so anyway, we're trying to implement things that you guys do and vice versa. So
yeah. I think it's only got to improve, surely.
I don't remember it being traumatic when I started school, but it was a long time ago.
Yeah, I know. It was different. Yeah. Helen, I couldn't hear the video.
Oh, sorry.
Could you hear it, Donna?
No.
We got no sound.
I'm sorry. Never mind.
No, don't apologise. I'm just saying, I don't know whether you want to take it out or, it just means Nicole probably won't hear it either.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I don't know how you get sound through in those. Like, I know, they say embed a video, but I don't know how to make the sound come through to other people.
It might have worked because I tried it this afternoon. It recorded onto my computer.
Oh, well, it might, that might work then.
So sorry about that.
That'll be good. No, don't apologise. These are technical.
Yeah, no, don't. I'm so impressed that you even knew how to do it. Like,
I'll just stop the recording, but don't go anywhere.
Oh, no, it's really was fine.